right. We are ready to meet our client, unless there are any questions on anything we've covered on the assignments. So let me just pause for a moment and have you guys, I'll ask one more time. Any questions on what we covered as far as the course overview and the assignments? Here's your chance. All right. Perfect. Okay. Next up, let's see. So I see, oh, there's Stephanie. Okay. So Stephanie, you're unmuted, and Angel, I'm going to unmute you as well. Stephanie, we did this before. Are you going to share your screen to?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Then you're going to lead the way. I've got this all set up kind of with 2 or 3 screens in my office, so I don't know what's going to actually happen when you share your screen, but I'm watching what the students see, so we'll see. But we'll see how that goes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce our client for our class is Dress for Success Columbus, and tonight with us we have Angel Harris, the Executive Director, and Stephanie Campolo Merkel, who is the Senior Director of Fundraising, Marketing, and Strategic Communications, the marketing person. and also, she probably is Chief Cook and Bottle Washer too, but I think, Angel, you probably do some of that as well, I imagine. That's what happens in the smaller organizations. So are you guys ready to go? Let's see. So why don't you take a shot, Stephanie, and see what happens if you share your screen, how that works. Oh, let me stop. I have to stop my share. So I'll stop my share. There we go.
There you go.
And there you are. And there's Stephanie and Angel's. Okay, there's me. Cool. Stephanie has started screen sharing, and voila! Okay, you have it there. Now the students are seeing that. That's great. Now you want to go to show. But down at the bottom, click on the screen to show. Yeah, there you go. Ah, perfect. You've got this.
We've got it.
All right.
Hello, everyone.
And as I said, guys, we're going to let these guys present. If you have questions, do enter them in the chat. I'll review the chat information later to get those questions that you ask. Stephanie and Angel, as you're presenting, you can choose to respond to things that pop up in the chat box. You'll see them pop up on your screen probably, but if you want to, leave them till the end, we'll come back to them. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Take it away, guys.
Well, yeah, go ahead, Angel.
Well, great. Thank you so much. Now that we know that I'm both the Executive Director of Dress for Success and I have a great military yell when it comes to telling my children to be quiet, I want to thank you for partnering with us and for helping Dress for Success. We are a nonprofit here in Central Ohio, and we'll talk a little bit more about what we do, but we're very excited to be on this journey with you and can't wait to see what comes out of it, because we're changing some things in our organization and looking forward to what our marketing, branding, and communications might be like on the other side. So thank you. So a little bit about our mission. Our mission is to empower women to achieve economic independence. And we do that by ensuring that she has a network of women who are there to be supportive of her, to ensure that she has the soft skills and development tools that she needs to thrive. But what Dress for Success is most known for is the clothing that we provide our women, and we provide our clients with work appropriate attire so that she can be successful at work. We are one of 156 affiliates in 30 different countries around the world and have empowered more than 1 million women collectively since we started our work 20 years ago. We're headquartered in New York, New York, and our affiliate in Columbus has been active for about 12 of the 20 years that Dress for Success has been in existence.
So I'm going to jump in on this slide and just give you a little bit about the demographics of the women that we work with. To receive Dress for Success services, typically you need to be referred by a referral partner, generally in Central Ohio. We work with more than 130 different referral partners throughout the community who refer our job-ready women for Dress for Success services. So you can see our top partners there. We have really strong relationships with them. And each of the women that we serve, as you can imagine, really face unique challenges. So we know that our goal is really to make her financially stable. So we need to stabilize her, give her the opportunity to earn a wage that is able to support her family. Of the women that we support, 40% of the women that we support are parents, and of those, 80% of them are single mothers, all between the age of 16 and 80. So we really go the gamut, which really means that our services need to be robust. We know that 65% of them really come from generational poverty, and we know that they receive benefits, both medical and food services. We know that 100% of the women lack appropriate apparel and skills that they really need to be successful in the workplace. So we're unique because the women that come to us, they are job ready. They received a referral, they are ready, they're either looking for a job or they either have an interview or they're interview ready when they come to us.
Great. So next we wanted to share with you a little bit about the services that we offer. As Stephanie mentioned, our women come to us typically because she has an interview. She's been identified as work ready, and it's our job to ensure that she has what she needs head to toe so that she can walk into that interview without having to deal with any barriers that exist because she may not be dressed appropriately. So when she comes to Dress for Success, she is greeted by a volunteer. The volunteer will walk her through some of the paperwork that she fills out. And if you ever get the opportunity to visit either our Dress for Success in Columbus or one in your home community, you really should. We try to ensure that it's a very uplifting environment, that it has more of a boutique feel to it. So even though I love my friends at Goodwill and Volunteers of America, this is a personal shopping experience where a woman is walking into a boutique and working with a personal stylist to help her put together an outfit from head to toe that will help her present as professional when she walks into the workplace. So you can see the list of items that she receives. I won't read through that. But also in that very first engagement with us, we introduced her to our Career Center. And our women can come into our Career Center any day of the week that we are open. They can search for jobs. They can work on their resumes. They can look at postings that have been sent over to us for jobs that are available. And in addition to that, we also offer classes for our job-seeking women once a week on Fridays, taught by our corporate partners who support our work. And if you're a job-seeking woman, the classes are, how do you find your passion? How do you represent your personal brand? How do you network your way into a job? So again, these aren't the hard skills that you need to get a job. We're very focused on the soft skills that a woman needs to get a job and then to show upward mobility potential in the workplace. We also have a professional women's group, and that professional women's group meets twice a month, and that's for our women who have gotten a job, but now they want to have the opportunity to learn how to deal with that tough performance evaluation, or how to navigate in a workplace that they've never been in before, or understand how to balance work and life now that she is in this new role. So our professional women's group addresses that. We also have a Success Insight Symposium, which is our chance to give our women a conference that they can attend once a year. I've been fortunate to attend conferences all around the world, but our women don't get the chance to do that. So once a year, we put on one that's free to our women, and we're super excited that we just found out Miss America is coming to our conference in March of 2020. So be on the lookout for that. We also have a women-to-women mentoring program so that our women who are in our professional women's group can be matched with a mentor in the community that can help her navigate through some things she may not be able to navigate through on her own. My success story team this year is a young lady who wanted to go into fashion merchandising. We were able to find her a mentor that's in fashion merchandising at Abercrombie, and now she has an interview there. So we're really helping our ladies cut through and build the relationships that they need so that they can find the jobs of their dreams.
There we go. So, you know, we really are looking at how how successful our women are throughout our programs. We know that 100% of the women that we work with report that their self-esteem is higher when they leave our organization. As you can imagine, a lot of women come to us not knowing what to expect. It can be an uncomfortable situation when let's say we have a partnership with Freedom a la carte and we're working with a woman who's been a victim of sex trafficking. When she comes into us, you know, she's reported before that she sees women who look successful and she doesn't see herself in that way. And if you could just see the change that these women experience in the short time that they're with us, it's incredible. When she leaves the boutique, it's like a different person walking out. And just imagine what that does as you're going into an interview, and really the shift of your entire trajectory could change because of the way you look. Secure and retain work. So we know that 60% of the women that work with us do secure job placement within 90 days of accessing Dress for Success programs. So we know that we're able to make an impact on the entire family and not just the women that we're working with. And then finally, we're really proud to share that once a woman does engage with us and she engages with our workforce programs, she's on average engages with us for 3 years, which we're really proud of, that we kind of have that staying power with our women to be successful in the workplace.
And Heather, I think you had the question about how long women stay with us, and Stephanie shared that. The amazing part about what we do is that some women will come to us for that one interview sitting and she will get her job and she will soar, and she doesn't return to receive additional services because she's been able to launch and provide everything that she needs. But some of our women need a little bit more time and a little bit more support. But as Stephanie said, the average is about 3 years. So what's next for us as we continue to empower women and as we build out our strategic plan for the next 3 years is really to expand our programming. We'd like to connect with human resource leaders in our community to determine what the most significant barriers are that they're finding for women in the workplace, and then trying to see what makes sense for Dress for Success to be involved in to help reduce some of those barriers. We're launching a program called,
Sorry, guys.
We're launching a program called Interviewing for Success, because that is something we've consistently heard that our women, once they've been dressed for success and they feel confident because of the way they look on the outside, they don't know that they're 100% confident on how to answer the questions in the interview. So we're going to launch a program to do that. We're also going to be using technology to meet our women where they are. And so for us, the low-cost way that we've been able to do that is by creating closed Facebook groups and giving our women the opportunity to hear classes not only on site, but also to live stream those classes through Facebook when they have transportation and childcare barriers. Those are the two main barriers that we find that our women have, is that they either can't get to our services, or they can't find childcare, and we currently don't offer childcare. We also are going to be launching mobile suiting to meet our women where they are. So right now we have 5 different nonprofits that will go on site to, and we'll take as much of the items in the boutique out as we can to suit women on site, but also offer her the opportunity to come to the boutique whenever she wants to, when she can work on her transportation or childcare barriers. So in our pilot, when we launched that on August 1st, we were able to serve about 30 women in a 6-hour period, many of them who were walking to the agency that they went to, or had their children with them because they were signing up for services. So we're excited about opportunities to meet our women where they are. And we do serve anyone who identifies as a woman. Okay, so the next slide just shows a little bit about where our women come from. This map lays out the home addresses of our women, and so you can see in the gray, less than 1% of women come from that zip code, all the way up to where 13% of our women come from. Just to kind of give you an understanding of this map, the northernmost part of this map is Delaware County. So we have women coming to us from Delaware County. And the southernmost part is just above Circleville. To the west is Plain City. And to the east, you will see that there's a block where we're not serving. And then there's an area just east of that where we are serving women. That block where we're not serving was Granville. We didn't have any women who came to us from Granville last year, but we had women come to us from east of Granville. So we know our footprint is very wide, and our services are needed pretty far, and that's why we're excited about mobile suiting and working to meet our women where they are.
So Tony asked me to really think about what current assets we have and we're currently using. So I thought we'd go through some opportunities that we currently use. So of course we use Salesforce. Having been at other nonprofits, I would say that our use of Salesforce is pretty robust, but that is to say that right now we have all of our donor information in Salesforce. We have most of our volunteer information in Salesforce. The next iteration of uploads and work that we'll do will be focused on our client information in Salesforce. So I feel like we're in a good place with our database. From there, I'll skip across the page. We will download all of our information from Salesforce, and we will upload all of that information into Constant Contact to be able to communicate with our donors and with our volunteers. So I'll say that is a challenge that we just noticed, is that we weren't doing that in a formal way or in an ongoing way. So we've noticed that sometimes our communications go out without having updated Constant Contact with our newest information from Salesforce. That's a challenge that we have right now. We use Qtego for our text to give system that in the past or up until now, we've really only utilized fully for our fall signature fundraiser, which is coming up in September, called Beyond the Suit. And so we use Qtego to do a text to give campaign during that event. But we are looking for a provider that might be able to provide a more robust solution for us, including online auctions, more robust text to give, all those things. Our Yes Columbus group, if you get a chance, please check them out on the web or Instagram or Facebook. Our Yes Columbus group is our young professional group. And I would say that they are they're really autonomous from Dress for Success Columbus as a whole. They are a volunteer group for Dress for Success, but they really engage that young professional group. They're really amazing. Their social media is incredible, and they're all women who are employed elsewhere and just volunteer with the Yes Group. You'll see 2 Dress for Success logos on here, which was intentional. Dress for Success Columbus is on the right side, and that website is ours. It's dfscmh.org. Dress for Success Worldwide is the website that you'll get if you search Dress for Success Columbus. The first one will pop up. It's actually the Dress for Success Worldwide affiliate. So you can imagine some of the challenges that we have around that, the digital optimization of our website. We're working with a group locally to kind of figure out how we might be able to work some algorithms, work with Google to make sure that we're the first ones that pop up. That's a challenge for us. And then finally, of course, the 4 largest social media outlets that we use are down there at the bottom. And that really kind of falls under my purview, which is not my background or my training. But we've had a lot of feedback lately that our social's looking really good, but we'd like a clear plan for social media moving forward. All right, so when we think about audiences, I'm sure that you guys could probably deduce by now, but we're really looking at 3 different audiences. Of course, we look at our donors, and that's our individual donors as well as our corporate and foundation partners. We look at our volunteers. We have more than 900 volunteers that volunteered with us last year. Of that, we probably have about 150 that are really active volunteers. It takes us about 40 volunteers a week to run our boutique. We are a staff team of 6. We worked with more than 1,600 women last year. And so our volunteers are just integral to the success of our organization. And then the final audience group is our clients. And Angel shared that we have a closed Facebook group. Our clients are really engaged. Our alumni, if they participated in some of our professional groups, they're really engaged. They continue to participate. We have discounted rates to participate in some of our programs, and our clients will always be at those programs. And so as you can imagine, we communicate really differently with those audiences, and I think it's really important to keep that in mind as we think about our plan moving forward. And then when we think about specific stakeholder groups, I noted out separately new donors and new volunteers because we know that they're the most at risk. So if we get a new donor in or a new volunteer with us, I'd really like to develop singular paths of communication for those specific groups. We know that if we get a volunteer that volunteers with us 3 times, generally they're hooked and they're going to come back, but how do we make sure we communicate with them? Which is why it was a real miss when we didn't realize that we didn't have the most updated information and constant contact from Salesforce, because those are our new people and we need to continue engaging them. Donor base, new donors are Be the Power donors. So under Angel's leadership, we did launch our first individual giving campaign last year. And in that group are women or men that are asked to give at least $21 per month. And so what we've realized is that recurring, as you would imagine, recurring donations to our mission are really what secures our future. And so our Be the Power donors will give monthly likely out of their credit card to Dress for Success. And clearly those are our most engaged donors and the ones that we need to bring into our family and keep there. Our volunteers, new volunteers, individual volunteers, and corporate group volunteers. We have a huge opportunity with our corporate partners. And oftentimes, as you guys know, oftentimes that can be from the ground up. And if we can engage groups of volunteers within corporations, oftentimes that is met with financial support from the organization. Our client base, So I noted in here specifically all of our clients, but our professional women's group is the group that is the most engaged with our work. And then finally, our event attendees. So we have event attendees that attend, we have 2 signature events. We have our Dine, Drink, Dress, D3 event that happens in the spring. It'll bring about 400 women together. Many of them have purchased tickets, but a lot of them will come with a corporate sponsor group. And then we have our luncheon in September, somewhat of the same thing, but very corporate sponsorship heavy. And those are people that might not be as engaged or committed to our work, but we don't want to lose their information. And so we need to figure out how often they want to hear from us, what they want to hear from us. I'll look at these questions here real quick. If I can get back to it. So our events and campaigns, I wanted to highlight to you what our calendar looks like. So these are our large scale Dress for Success Columbus backed events and campaigns. I noted under each one of those or beside each one of those, whether it's a formal event, whether it's our signature fundraiser, a stewardship event, or a formal campaign that we're running. These are things that I really try to market and communicate around. And I'll say we don't have a formal plan for that, but that's clearly what we're hoping for. But how do we communicate around these? How often do we communicate around these? And then how do we segment dependent upon them? I'll share here too that I'm in the process right now of developing a partnership agreement. So we have, we are so lucky that we have such generous donors in the community that want to be a part of Dress for Success's mission. And we've done this to ourselves with the name Dress for Success. Most people associate us with suiting. So we have lots of partners, local boutiques in town, that want to run fundraisers for us, and that's amazing. And with that, they also ask for the opportunity for us to, email blast out to our more than 15,000 stakeholders or post it on social media. And we're trying to get very clear that, about for what sponsorship level warrants what type of lift on Dress for Success's part, so that we can really segment out what our largest donors get, and then what organizations where the ROI just might not be as high, but how we differentiate between those two. So when we thought about what our goals are for this partnership, ideally, Tony was so complimentary in sharing, like, we might be farther along than some of the other partners that this class has worked with in the past. We really appreciate that. We know we have a strong brand, but we know we have a long way to go to really operationalize how we communicate with all of our segments, and that's really important to us. We know that under Angel's leadership, we're really growing, not only in our donor base, but also in our program base, which is really exciting, but we don't want to lose the personal touch that all of our donors and volunteers have felt for the last 12 years. So with that, I think it's really important to operationalize what we're doing. We want to develop a holistic marketing and communications plan that does include email, USPS mail, as well as social media. So as you can imagine, I think we noted in here that our client base is 16 to 80. Our volunteer base is likely more around 25 to 70, but that really does go the gamut. And we have many individuals who still like to receive mail at home, especially for our spring event that is more individual ticket-based heavy. We'd like assistance in segmenting communications and defining interwoven storylines. We have, Angel mentioned a snippet of one story or earlier. We have absolutely incredible stories that come through our doors of women who maybe have donated to Dress for Success before, and then fallen on hard times and have become a client. And they really continue to support Dress. And I'd love to find clearly defined ways to weave in their stories and those success stories through all of our communications. And then a partnership agreement outline. So what I referenced earlier, what do we do and for whom? What marketing opportunities do we provide and for whom? And then I just started to outline kind of collateral needs. We need an update and a refresh on a lot of our materials, brochures included. Impact scripts, I would say that I'd really like to have something that is a short and sweet to give to all of our board members and our stakeholders and our volunteers, and then something that's more robust and kind of a tested approach to what resonates with the community. A photo shoot with stakeholder segments, I think, is going to be really integral to our success moving forward, so that as we do plan social media and as we do plan some of our materials, that we have those professional photos, but that we share real time and real life stories in a very planful way that looks professional. We know that we need a new video. If he hasn't yet, I know that Tony is going to share a video that that we sent out, which was created by a student, I think 2 years ago. It's amazing, but it's the best that we have, and it's not a real, professional worthy photo about who we are and what we do. We'd really like an outline for press releases: when, where, why, what warrants a press release. And then we want to bring back, we used to have this, but we want to bring back a newsletter that, as I shared before, helps us not lose our personal touch. How do we continue to communicate in real time so that people feel part of the big work that's going on? Like Angel mentioned earlier, our mobile career center. That's huge. We want to make sure that we present it correctly.
So that's an overview of who we are at Dress for Success Columbus. As I mentioned before, we're really excited to engage with you, and we're happy to answer any questions that we may not have addressed so far.
Well, first of all, I want to thank both of you for the amazing information. Stephanie shared, I was complimentary because I was really impressed with how much you have done and the general direction, but more importantly, the quality of the information and your understanding of the marketing side of things and who your audience is and everything else. You have a really awesome foundation, and it's no wonder you have so much success to this point. That was well deserved, and appreciate your comments tonight. So thank you both for sharing tonight. Go back, and there were a couple of questions I want to go back to before we open it up for everyone to ask questions. Back in the beginning, you did answer the question about the length of time that someone is engaged with DFS. You said about 3 years typically, or hopefully that's about right. You did answer the question about transgendered women. But then there was the question about, I guess TJ kind of asked the question, do you feel that this may put people off have you had any feedback on that at all, or do you think it matters to the people that use the services or that are your donors, for example? Have you thought about that, or has it been an issue?
It hasn't been much of an issue, Steph. I can start off with this, and if you want to chime in, you can too. We've had 1 or 2 Facebook posts about people who didn't necessarily agree that we should be providing services. But it's our belief that we will serve anyone who identifies as a woman. And if you identify as a woman, it's not up to us to question how you identify. We are thoughtful, and and careful, as Stephanie mentioned, that some of our women have been through some really rough experiences. And so we try to just be thoughtful and careful about the dressing rooms and how we move our clients through to ensure that there's no trauma trigger for any of our clients who may have suffered abuse at the hands of a man. So we work to be as careful as we can, but we also are accepting of anyone who identifies as a woman.
Yeah, I in the video, I don't know if any of you guys, any of the students had a chance to look at it, but there are a couple of really interesting and amazing stories in there. And you can see what an impact it makes, but you also your heart just goes out to some of these women who have been through some terrible experiences, and you guys are an oasis of hope for them. So it's a pretty awesome story, and like you said, there's hundreds and hundreds of them out there. So I think that's going to be a big part of what we see. Okay, thank you, Angel, for that. The Sky asked who the top competitors you believe are. So I don't know if you can give that any thought, but I usually encourage the students to think about competitors for nonprofits, in particular, people who are competing, or people who are you are competing for the same dollars as all these other charitable organizations. Central Ohio in particular, I'm involved with a couple of organizations that work with charitable organizations. There are hundreds of charitable organizations, some very large ones and a lot of smaller ones, competing for the mind share, competing for dollars from individuals, from corporations. And so have you guys run into that? Do you consider who's competing for the same, who maybe plays in the same space you guys do as far as catering to the same audience? Have you guys given that any thought? Do you run into that very often?
Stephanie and I are both fundraisers, and so we think about that all the time. I think while we're chasing the philanthropic dollar, which is more and more in demand and less abundant, we don't think that there is another organization like Dress for Success providing the service to the degree that we are, but we know that there are organizations like Goodwill, like Volunteers of America, kind of doing this work. But we find ourselves in this hybrid between those type of nonprofit organizations who we work with closely and are friendly with, and then a real discount boutique. So I don't know that from the suiting side there are many competitors, but definitely from that soft skill side and the things that we do that we call beyond the suit. There are lots of nonprofits that have mentoring programs. There are lots of nonprofits teaching soft skills. There's even other organizations that do interview training, but what we know is that our women feel comfortable coming to us for services in ways that they don't feel as comfortable going other places.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I think it's important. And when I was talking with Stephanie this afternoon, we talked about this. A big challenge you have is to expand what people understand about the organization and about the brand to beyond the wardrobing, and because when it comes right down to it, that's kind of the launching pad, right? And the other services you provide are so valuable in integrating people back in, these women back into life. And so I think there's, and Stephanie, I think, maybe hopefully you agree, is that that's one of the big challenges you have and one of the things I think we can maybe focus on a little bit in our plans that we put together.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see if Angel responds to that, but I think I can. I mean, 100%. We want, again, people know us because of our name, right? They know that Dress for Success means clothes, but we always call that just the beautiful beginning. There's so much more to the services that we offer, and quite frankly, to the services that our women need to be successful. That just to, just to toot our own horn, that we are really good at, but people don't know that about us. We haven't done a great job, I don't think, of making that the brand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, makes sense. Heather asked a question about whether, she imagines clients are shy about, I don't know if you see the chat,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's an interesting question.
So I mean, as you can imagine, a lot of times when she comes into us, most of the time is lack of clarity around what she's going to experience that day. One of the things we just talked to our volunteer group about is the need for maybe an introductory video for our clients, getting her ready for what she's going to experience that day, so she comes in a little bit more comfortable. But oftentimes when she comes to us, she isn't feeling great about it. She doesn't know what she's going to experience. And I would say that our volunteers, so I've been with the organization since February. And since that time, remember, we have 40 volunteers come to us a week. I've maybe met 5 volunteers who aren't returning.
Wow, that's great. That's a great retention rate.
As in, it's their first time with us, and they will return, but I've met them when it's their first time with us, maybe 5 times.
Wow.
So the volunteers that work with us, the experience has staying power. And they are just so good with our clients. And really the experience is, and I think one of the first things that our volunteers say is, it doesn't matter what I like. We're not going to try to put you into something that I like. This is about what you feel good in. You have to leave here feeling confident. And the first woman I ever worked with, suiting wise, she clearly was uncomfortable. She wasn't comfortable in her own skin. It was very hard to find something for her. But by the end, she was so happy. Her entire demeanor turned around. She was giving people hugs when she left.
That's great.
So, it really is a special experience, and one that we don't want her to bring anyone else with her. So this is not an experience for her children or her husband. She needs to come to us by herself, because the experience is all about her. And that just doesn't happen often in our women's lives.
Yeah, that's great. A couple other questions. I want to go back to one of the questions that was asked about, TJ kind of turned the question around about non-cisgender women. Rather than being worried about people not donating, have you thought about marketing specifically to people who might be motivated to donate and support and volunteer because of that focus?
Yeah. Angel, if it's okay, I'll jump in here. We are a block away from Stonewall in the Short North.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And we have a great relationship with Stonewall. And one of the strategies that we've seen that really works well with our women is when we have partnerships with the individual referral partner. So for instance, we had a Stonewall day at the agency. In fact, it was a trans day at the agency, and we had all trans women come in on the same day, because we do realize that they're more comfortable when they're around people. We all are more comfortable when we're around people that are similar to us. And it totally broke down barriers just coming into our door. And then we partnered with Stonewall to find the volunteers for that day as well. And so Stonewall now asks for men's style clothing that are in bigger sizes, shoes that are in bigger sizes. So we have done that. We also are doing that with a couple other organizations right now, where they, like Alvis comes to us every Thursday. Alvis are women that have been in the prison systems. They come to us every Thursday. They're there with their friends. They're there with people they trust. And so they feel good coming to us.
That's great.
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. And that's the question, TJ? I'm assuming he's still here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Awesome.
Great.
Okay. So the question, Jocelyn, about the marketing materials. The marketing materials you provided me are targeted mainly, you know, who are they targeting? And I think if you review those materials, guys, you'll see, I don't know if you had a chance, Jocelyn, to look at the ones on the website, but yeah, I think it's both, right? I think it's, you know, targeting potential, not necessarily clients, but individual donors. And then the others are kind of targeting the community and corporate partners. Is that right? I mean, that's really what your marketing materials so far are positioned as. Am I reading that right?
I think that's a strong assessment. We have our impact report that we really take out to corporate partners for the most part, but we also share it with our individual stakeholders when we have recognition events. They like to see that. Our trifold brochure that kind of lays out the cycle of our women from suiting to programming. We use that for our women, and when she comes in, that's what she gets to kind of tell her what other opportunities we have. But that's also a great material to bring out to our corporate partners to show them that it's not just the suiting.
Gotcha. Okay, that's good. Makes sense. Megan says, how many people are truly employed? I think you said that you have six staff, and the rest is volunteers.
We have 6 staff, and we have 3 women that share 1 part-time job.
Okay.
So they all work 1 day a week.
So 95% volunteers is probably a higher number than that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Jocelyn's question about Google AdWords. Do you have a Google AdWords account? Do you know?
My answer to that would be no.
Yeah, okay.
My answer to that would be, what is that?
Okay,
right.
Good. Well, I think we found a possible tactic. No talking about tactics yet, guys, but that just to let you know, I mean, that is one way that will help get Dress for Success Columbus positioned above the national organization in when people, you know, search for results on using Google. So that's
everybody gets an A if we can do
that. All right. Well, we'll negotiate that, but okay, that's good. You're easy to please. Okay.
Good question.
Good question, Philip. Yeah.
Yeah. So men we love when we have men in the agency, and we're lucky enough now that we're really space prohibited right now. We're kind of bursting at the seams, and thanks to Angel, we were able to secure a warehouse right next door to us that allows us to keep more items in an ongoing basis. So we take donated items from the community. And we keep about 25% of what comes to us, what is donated. So for an item to go on our boutique floor, it has to be pristine, no rips, no tears, clean, you know, doesn't need to be dry cleaned. We have the ability to steam something, but that's about it. So about 25% of what comes to us, we keep. The rest of it, we forward on to Volunteers of America or another organization. So having the warehouse space now allows us to keep more items and often prepare for the next season. We really were bound by season. So if a coat came to us in the summer, we wouldn't keep it. But we have a need for those things. We have a dire need for coats in the winter. So now we have a space that we can keep that inventory. And when we have men volunteer with us, oftentimes it's really sorting and donations to that end that aren't in the same vicinity as our women who are changing in the changing rooms.
Interesting. And then the second part of Philip's question is about your marketing budget. Have you given that any thought? I mean, that's part of what these guys are going to come up with. You know, they'll do it from a ground up, kind of a zero base. They'll say, you know, these are the things we recommend, and here's some possible costs. But do you guys look at that?
Angel, you want to answer that one?
Yeah, marketing is not one of the larger items in the budget. But we know we need to do better.
And that's not atypical. You know, you have your primary focus obviously needs to be on the services you provide. I always encourage students to find the most cost-effective ways. As I shared with you, Stephanie, many of the organizations that we work with in this class are coming to us with no money. They have, they're starting from nothing or very little, or it's self-funded. And so you need to come up with cost-effective ways. You guys are obviously very far beyond that, but still need to keep in mind that we're not talking about going out and doing national, media and television and those kind of things. But there may be other ways to get those things done. So understand that that question always gets asked, and the answer is always the same. It needs to be as cost-effective as possible.
Right, Philip, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. TJ asked about demographic information. So you obviously know your audience and your Salesforce database. How much demographic information do you have? It sounds like you have a pretty good idea. You have a pretty good handle. You said you had age ranges. So you have things like ages, education. Do you have any of that kind of information, or is it primarily just kind of age and location and that kind of things? What kind of stuff do you have available on your in your database, on in your Salesforce database?
So the strongest data that we have is really on our clients, and that's because we're required to collect that data for some of the funding streams that we have.
Sure.
So, we have that for our volunteers. We know them so intimately that we know that information. I would say we're not as clear on our demographics of our donors, but really because we're trying to diversify that base right now.
Right.
So that's a goal of ours. And through Click Dimensions, we can see our click-through rates. We know what those are, but the challenge really has been segmented communications to tell what's doing the best.
Right. Yeah. You can see how many likes, you can see how many clicks, but you don't know if it's getting to the right people. You don't know, tracking conversions and that kind of stuff. I think it gets pretty sophisticated. I mean, I do that for the company I work at, and it's always changing, but it takes a lot of work. So it's good that you're working with an organization that has the ability to help you see that. And now once you start to see it, you'll start to understand how to use it. And I think probably looks like a couple of the groups are going to latch on to that. So that's awesome. When you do email blasts, through Constant Contact, do you track them as campaigns and those kind of things?
We do.
Okay.
We do. So we have about 5 years history of campaigns through our email blast, which has been helpful.
Okay.
And I'll also say to that end, what the social platform that does the best for us is Facebook.
Sure.
So that could give you a better understanding too of some of the demographics that we have. And we're really trying to ramp up what does engagement look like for us, with Instagram and others.
Gotcha. Okay. What's the frequency of the emails that you send? I'm going to jump on to Jocelyn's question. How often do you send out emails?
That is a good question. And really the answer to that is differing. So we send an email to our most engaged volunteers every Friday. Every Friday, we send an email to them about openings that we have in the agency. The frequency with which we actually share newsletter-worthy information, really what's happening at Dress, is very infrequent. And we really get heavy around our signature fundraising event.
Right. I would imagine that would be the case.
Yeah. So I would say that it's not enough and it's not focused enough. And that's kind of where I referenced before. We have some partners who, the ROI just isn't very high for us. And of course, they want us to email our entire stakeholder base, and that it just isn't appropriate for us to do at that time.
Sure.
But really like a way to formalize, an ongoing communication newsletter worthy that we share all that information.
Right, makes sense. Jocelyn has a good question, and I don't know that you really answered it, because I think you kind of said you're looking for strategic direction. But her question is, is there an overriding marketing objective you have? You have a lot of other objectives to increase revenue or donations or referrals or whatever. But is there kind of an overriding objective? I mean, does it tie back to the mission? Is it to expand the awareness in the community? What would you say would be your overriding objective if you had to put it into words?
I'll let Angel provide her 2 cents. For me, it's really increasing revenue, and sharing the larger scope of services we have available.
Yeah, I would agree. We have unemployment at record lows, and so getting more women in who have an interview could at some point be a challenge for us, because so many people are working. They're just working in jobs where there's no upward mobility opportunities, or a way for her to work one job and take care of her family. So really trying to hone in on helping women have the skills they need, so when an opportunity becomes available for them to get a promotion or advocate for themselves to have a new role within the organization, they have that confidence needed and the soft skills needed to be able to approach those opportunities and conversations in a way that can help them be more successful.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Good question. And thank you for that answer. So Justin kind of followed up when you talk about campaigns. I haven't forgotten your question, Elaine. I'll come back to it. Do you look at an ROI when you do your campaigns, or is it more just focused on just kind of looking at the long term, growth of revenues and donations and things?
We do look at ROIs when it comes to our fundraisers.
Okay.
So we have our signature fund years, two a year, in the spring and in the fall. We also have our bag sale, which for $25 you can buy a bag and you can stuff it with as many clothes as you can fit into it. We do that twice a year, and we really do look at goals and what our ROI is on those investments. I would say that that's a little bit tougher to do when they're community partners who want to do something to benefit dress. Mm-hmm. And so we're really looking to outline, what does that agreement look like?
Yeah, you mentioned that, and I don't know if everyone caught that, but and you and I talked about this earlier today, Stephanie, was when you're talking about partners, establishing levels of what is it that you will do for them at what level of engagement, whether that be financial or whatever it is, with the organization. And that may be something that strategically you start to think about, and that will also help with understanding your ROI for campaigns and those kind of things, I imagine. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Elaine's question is Google ad grants. Is that something familiar to you? Do you use that as far as going out and getting grants? And do you just in general have a grant, an active program where you pursue grants?
We do not.
Okay.
Would love to learn more about it.
Ah, good. Sounds like Elaine has some knowledge on that. Yeah. Oh, that's an interesting question, Jocelyn. Just kind of flipped it around. The Facebook is the strongest. Do you know which one's the least performing? Which one are you saying, gosh, that's almost not worth the effort, or I wish I'd had better success there?
I have an answer that I would share, and it's because I'm not as familiar with Twitter. Mm-hmm. So I know that I'm not using it the most effectively right now. But I also know that, for instance, we had a partnership with Franklin County Department of Jobs and Family, which is a really it's a really unique opportunity for us, and one we're really lucky to have right now. It's a big deal for us. And the way that one of our referral partners found out about it was because Jobs and Family posted and tagged us in it through Twitter. So I know that we need to be utilizing that outlet more. So I can't say that it's underperforming. I would say that I'm underperforming on that.
It's a tough channel, and it's, and I think, as these guys will, probably, come to the conclusion too. um, it's got a specific purpose and a specific audience, and you've got to understand who that is, and that's the whole idea we talked about, is targeting and segmenting. So I think that's going to be a big part of the plan we put together for you. Um, so we're starting to dig into a little more detail. When you do your social, I think, Stephanie, you mentioned you're primarily responsible for that. Do you share the posts between the different social media, or do you individualize it for each channel?
I share it with one message. I
Mm-hmm.
share it to each channel and
Okay.
then edit in that channel.
Gotcha.
So generally it's the same message. I might edit, for instance, on LinkedIn, because something on Instagram might not make sense on LinkedIn. But yeah, it's the same message that's shared throughout.
Gotcha. How frequently? How often are you out there?
So generally it's at least every other day, but I like to try to get something up every day.
Okay. All right. Okay, so Philip has a rather involved question, and I may let you read it, but it's kind of interesting. It has to relate back to your mission. I think can both of you see that, Angel and Stephanie?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's the previous comment from Philip. There's two or three parts to that question. The first part is kind of an interesting one to me.
We are in a transition period right now where we're trying to focus on those classes and opportunities to help women grow and obtain more leadership positions. So I can't say that it's been something that we've done long enough for us to be able to say that we're moving women into leadership positions, but it's certainly where I would like that to go. And then to the question about the hiring an agency, I mean, most everything we do, well, I'll say my philosophy is first ask for it for free and then pay at a discount. And so we would consider a longer term relationship. I think one of the challenges that we have is there's so many people who want to do so much for us to help us. And when that's happening in a way that's pro bono, sometimes it's hard to keep your arms around it. But with a budget as small as ours, sometimes we will sacrifice timing in order to be able to focus our revenue on things that are most important to our women.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that answers both of those, but
I think it does. That makes sense. Does that answer? Does Philip and Jocelyn, do you answer you guys' questions? You see, Jocelyn's the same question. Well, and the good news is you've got 4 agencies working for you right now.
Yay.
Because each team is representing an agency, and we kind of have them. We position them in that way so that they think about it that way. So you're going to end up with 4 unique plans from 4 different agencies, and I'm sure 4 very different perspectives. So Stephanie, as I shared with you, a lot of times the organization gets these and it's almost overwhelming, but we try to scale it back when we present the plans to you. We'll do it 2 ways. And in 5 weeks from now, in week 6 of the class, we'll have another one of these meetings like this where each agency, each team will present an overview of their plan for you. And we try to keep it down to a couple of strategies and a couple of tactics per strategy. So basically they're talking, they give you specifics on 3 or 4 different things rather than an entire laundry list of things. So I have them focus on the things that they think are going to have the most impact, that tie the best to your mission, to what you want to accomplish. So that's what we present, because as I said, it can be overwhelming, especially with 4 different groups presenting. But we will also make sure you will get copies of their of their entire plan, which may have a little bit more information about some of the other strategies and tactics too. So it becomes a great resource. And as I shared with you, Stephanie, I think many of the organizations that we've worked with in the past, they get this overwhelming amount of information, but they go back to it, in years, in subsequent years, and say, that was an interesting idea, and I'll pull that out and use it again. So I think it's to me just a very satisfying, really exciting opportunity that a lot of people, a lot of students in particular, don't have the opportunity to do. We're acting as marketing consultants for an organization that we can really help make an impact on, and that's what we hope to accomplish. So.
Well, we really appreciate that. We know that, all of you have expertise in your day jobs, and we just feel so lucky and are so gracious to have this opportunity.
Okay. Any more questions from the class on, and I will share with you guys as you kind of digest a lot of this information and get a look at the materials. And as I said, I'll make sure you get a copy of the slides, which means someone needs to send them to me, Stephanie. But because a couple of them revised, not very much. It's pretty much the same one you sent, just email it. But as you have additional questions, we'll channel them through me, funnel them through me, and then what I'll do is I'll try to group them together so that I'm not, peppering you with questions every hour. I'll try to group them together. And usually what I find is in the second, like between the second and third weeks is usually when a lot of the questions come up, because they're starting to put together ideas for strategies and things. So, but we'll do it. We'll channel them that way so that you're not overwhelmed with 13, 14 people going, oh, what is this? What is this? We try to keep it reasonable for you, because we all have day jobs, and you guys are running an organization. So.
Perfect. That sounds great.
Okay. Any other questions from the class? This is your chance to say yes or no. They're not. Oh, there we go. Oh, not right now. Thank you for your time. Got it. Thanks so much. Got it. Okay. Good. Good. All right. And then I'll ask Angel and Stephanie, you guys, you have any questions, what to expect or what's coming up as we get closer to the when the presentations will be? I'll try to keep you updated on what's going on, and if you have questions, if you're curious, you can poke me anytime, email, text, whatever. But we'll schedule that presentation that week, kind of the same way. I probably want to shoot for a little bit later in the week, maybe Wednesday instead of Tuesday, to give them a little bit of time to recover from the work they have in the previous week. But we don't want to go too late in the week, so just kind of keep that in mind. If Tuesday night's a better night for you guys, we can do it Tuesday, but probably shoot for the Wednesday, that week of whatever that, what's the date on that? Let me get my calendar out. That is the 23rd of September, the week of the 23rd. So the 24th or 25th is what we're talking about. So kind of be thinking about that as far as possible. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, guys. Thank you so much, Stephanie and Angel, for joining us tonight and sharing everything. I am really impressed. I think it's going to be a great project to work on, and I'm confident that we're going to be able to help and make an impact and advance the organization for you. So we're excited to work with you and work for you. So we're looking forward to it.
Thanks, team.
Okay. Unshare your screen, Stephanie.
All right.
So I can take it back over. Hey,
There you go.
hello. Okay. All right. Awesome. Thank you. And now you guys are looking at me, so that's good. By the way, I want to share with the class, it looks like I'm in a classroom, doesn't it? One of the cool things in Zoom is it's got the green screen capability. So what I actually have behind me is a big green sheet. And I found this really cool image of a classroom. Isn't that cool? Zoom is a great tool. I've enjoyed this experience, so that's pretty awesome. So just thought I'd share that with the class. So anyway, let's go back to where we are, so you're not looking at me anymore, so we can wrap this up. Okay, guys. Okay, there is a question on materials. Let me see here. I have to go back and get my chat up and running. Here we go. In materials in the week 1 tab, with this, you included another organization. Is that still there? That was an accident. I hope I got rid of it all. Did I not get rid of it all? I intended to get rid of it. Let me see here. Let me go back to... it's not connected with the client. You're talking about that was the last organization we worked with. So when they copied the stuff for this course, they kind of copied too much. Hopefully I got rid of all that stuff in the week 1 tab. If it's still there, I'll make sure to get rid of it. Oh, okay. Yeah, it was confusing. All right. Yeah, I did get rid of it. Hopefully no one else saw it and got confused. All right. Okay, guys. Any other questions about what we covered tonight before we take off here? Let me just a reminder. I don't know that anyone's going to be viewing the recording. I don't think, because I think everyone was here tonight, so I don't think we need to cover that. I am recording it, and I will post the recording. I'm just not sure how Zoom wants me to do it. I've been saving it to my computer. I think I'd be able to post it somewhere, but I haven't learned that part of Zoom yet. But I'll make it available to you and let you guys know where that information is. If for any reason you want to review the presentation for the first part, where we cover the details of the class, or the presentation by the client. So the individual scan is this client. Yeah, individual scan is on Dress for Success. Right. Yeah, the individual, the assignment is for Dress for Success. My PowerPoint slides will be available this evening. As soon as we get off this, I'll put them up there. And I think Stephanie emailed them to me also, so I'll put hers up there. I'll put the Dress for Success slides in the object about our client, and then I'll put a new object